Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy RJ back at you again with another one. Alright y'all, so today's video we got people want roll queue, but is it really needed in Marvel Rivals? By Father Dark. So yeah, we about to go on and hop into this video. But I need y'all to do a few things to do. Need y'all to do a few things for me before we do that. I need y'all to leave a like, comment down below what you're trying to see me react to next, and comment your thoughts down below as well. And please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already, and turn on both notification bells so you never miss when I upload a video. And let's get straight into it.
One of the biggest complaints that I hear about Marvel Rivals and hero shooters in general are people that insta-lock roles. And one of the main solutions that a lot of people give for this is they say, well, let's just add role queue. Now, the thing is that I fully understand why people want role queue in the game. I fully understand it. But in this video, I'm going to talk about why I think that that's actually bad for the game. I'm going to show you some examples of why not having role queue in the game has worked out in my favor numerous times, and why it actually makes me enjoy this game more than other games like Overwatch where they do have role queue. So let's talk about it.
He went back to the old intro music.
YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark. I'm here on a beautiful Friday afternoon, actually morning for me. I hope everybody's had a great week. If not, I'm sorry to hear that. We're only about a week out from the release of Deadpool and the beginning of the new season. So if you're not excited about it, I'd recommend you go ahead and get excited about it. But let's go ahead and get into the video. So like I said, something that a lot of people say in the comments whenever I'm doing crash out videos or just talking about different issues and problems that I have with Marvel Rivals, a lot of people, that the first thing that they say is roll queue. If we had roll queue would solve everything. It would put to bed and rest a lot of the problems that we have in the game. We wouldn't have to worry about install.
I mean, okay, to me, I feel like, yes, it would put a lot of problems. Would put to rest a lot of problems that we have with people, with a lot of players just going straight up just all DPS or just all DPS in one tank. I mean, but at the same time, like, role queue is just gonna make the game not fun for certain people and just make a lot of people get off the game, and make a lot of people not want to play the game anymore. So it's kind of like, which one do you choose? It's like, on one hand, yeah, you need role queue, and on the other hand, probably not.
Block DPS. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to talk to you guys about why I think that's actually a bad idea, and why not having role queue in the game actually makes the game way more fun for me. But the thing is, this, I try to be fair, I try to be unbiased on this channel. So before I get into that, I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why people want role queue in the game, obviously. And like I said in the beginning, they're tired of the 5 DPS comps. You load into a match and people immediately, you see 5 people picking DPS. You're like, hey, we need a tank, we need a support player. Even in the past and stuff, I've even said that I've went on my DPS villain arcs, which I'm still kind of going on right now, but I still flex when it's absolutely needed, even though there are times where I try to be petty just like anyone else. I'm a human being, and like I said, I'll insta-lock DPS and just kind of make the team figure it out and stuff. And another reason too is that people want guaranteed healing. They want guaranteed frontline tanks. They don't want to have to worry about people that are only playing the role simply because no one else is doing it, and the suffering, especially when it kind of seems like a lot of times you don't have to deal with that on the enemy team. And obviously we don't trust random people to self-balance out teams, right? And some of the things that I think that could probably help with that, outside of us just adding role queue, would be if they made better in-game role suggestions. Like, hey, I know they already kind of do that a little bit. They'll say it's kind of recommended that maybe we have a vanguard, or that we have a strategist, or whatever the case is. But I also think too, with having like stronger visual feedback showing why a comp is failing, maybe in mid-game, kind of like how you have pointers and tips where they say, hey, this is, if you did this could work out this way.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that'll work. Or like, you could do a thing where you have, like, every now and again when you start losing with a certain comp, you have a thing where Galacta might come in and say, do you really think this team composition is working for you? Because the show doesn't look like it. Or like something like that, to like let you know, like, hey, y'all need to fix y'all team composition if y'all really want to win.
etc., etc. And maybe even some incentives for people playing other roles. I mean, I know that we have challenges and stuff like that. A lot of times it'll say, hey, get this much healing to get this kind of challenge for the chrono tokens or whatever it is, etc., etc. But I think if there was maybe more stuff in game that kind of promoted it, people would be a lot more, adept to flexing and stuff a lot of times, and tutorials that teach counter picking and swapping. Like maybe if they actually had some kind of, I don't know, like game mode or something that kind of showed you what situations to play against. I remember I used to play this chess game, and they had like these little puzzles outside of you just playing regular chess, and it would basically say like you're going to be checkmated in this many moves, and there would only be certain pieces on the board, and it would force you to have to figure out how to either checkmate your opponent or how to get out of being checkmated, etc., with just the pieces that you had on the board. And I think something similar to that in this game could help out. And now I'm gonna talk about why exactly I think that roll queue would actually be a bad idea, and why I enjoy that we don't have it in the game. And I know there's a lot of people that are probably thinking like, oh man, he's just yapping, we need roll queue. But trust me, I'm one of these kind of people where I believe in like not just telling you something, but actually showing you. I think a lot of you are from the Missouri state, and you're one of those like, hey, I need you to show me. And like I said, I think that one of the qualities of a leader is not just saying something with nothing to really back it up. I'm going to show you with gameplay, which is some of the gameplay that you're seeing in the background, but I'm going to explain to you and give you some context for it. But before we get into that, we do have to keep the lights on around here. So let's go ahead and have literally a 1 minute quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right into it. All right.
Nope.
You, just you,
And another ad. Sorry, y'all.
On base.
I promise you won't be disappointed. The other day I was playing, and I was so now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about it. So a little bit of context. The other day I was playing, and I was having a really, really bad day in rank. Not like, I wasn't locked in, or it was just one of those days where I was performing poorly, which everybody has those days. It wasn't one of those. It was like I got put into the most toxic queue that I've ever seen.
Yes, that literally what just happened to me and my homeboy. Even though my homeboy rages out every single time. But I mean, sometimes you have those games where you do bad. Sometimes, I mean, some days you just have those games where you had the suckiest teammate. And earlier today, we had the suckiest teammates. We had this dude that was on Starlord. He was just doing, well, he was Hawkeye first, then he went to Starlord, then he went to Envious, and he was just sucking. He just doing so badly. And it's just like, come on, bro. Like, do better, bro.
It didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter if I changed servers. It didn't matter what role I played. It just didn't matter. I was just getting teammates that were literally some of the most toxic. Like they were loading in without you saying anything. I don't have voice comms on. I only use text chat because I don't feel like talking to people in this game. It's just not my thing. But I don't mind talking through
I'd be like
text.
that sometimes.
But people
So
were loading in and literally just talking junk about me without me ever saying a word to them before the match started. It was like they were loading in just to troll and just try to trigger their teammates. I don't know if it's because I have YouTube in my name, and a lot of times when they see that, they'll look it up. They'll say, hey, they're subbed, or oh, we got a YouTuber in here or whatever. And it's like, brother, I just talk about rivals. I'm not one of these people out here that's giving tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. Not outside of stuff like this. But point is that, like I said, I'd had one of those days where I was just like, what are we doing? The DPS that I was getting, it seemed like consistently I was getting people that were insta-locking DPS, but they weren't doing a very good job. And lately I've been cooking as Moon Knight, and it's been really successful for me. My win rate whenever I play Moon Knight has really been working out for me. And like I said, in previous videos, I've gotten to a point with Moon Knight where I don't really ever get diff. So even if the enemy team has a Moon Knight, usually I outperform that Moon Knight. So I'd rather be the one playing him than my team getting absolutely decimated by him, and me just trying to out heal, the ridiculous damage that he's putting out. So load into this match, and it was one of those situations where everybody, pretty much picked DPS, and we had one guy that was going to play tank, like you saw in the beginning of the video, and he ends up seeing that nobody else wants to play tank. And this has been happening a lot when people see that someone doesn't want to play support, or that they want to play tank or something. They'll just kind of go, you know what? Well, I'm gonna pick DPS, or I'll pick whatever role I want to play, and we'll just have to deal with it or whatever, even if we take the L. And like I said in the beginning of the video too, I've done this a lot too lately. I've started becoming petty. Marvel Rivals has kind of turned me cold. This whole channel has been nothing but you guys should flex, you guys should flex. And because I had to flex for literally almost a year without anyone ever being considerate and flexing for me, it's kind of got me to a point to where I've kind of turned cold in that sense. And I've just been like, you know what, whatever nobody wants to flex, then I'm going to sit here and insta-lock DPS, etc. So getting back into it, this is what happened, right? And when, like I said, the guy who went strange, he sees that nobody was going to flex. They end up going some type of I don't know what I think they went Adam Warlock or something like that. And we all, people were saying like, hey, can we get a tank? And everybody was like, no, we're good. Let's just go ahead and do it this way. I had already kind of chopped this game up mentally to an L because of the day that I had already been having, which was terrible in ranked. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go out here and I'm going to play it just like it's a normal match. I'm not even going to think about it, whatever. Lo and behold, we end up cooking this team. And they had the 2-2-2 comp. They had 2 tanks, they had 2 DPS, and they had 2 supports. And for some reason, we were just cooking them. It was just working. Now, you can chop it up to whatever. Maybe the other team was just really bad. Maybe they had some infighting going on. Maybe they were forcing themselves to play roles that they don't normally play just to be able to fill out the 2-2-2 comp, whatever the case is. And it could have been a situation, too, where all of us were playing roles that we were really comfortable in. I had someone in the comments said the other day that they think instead of you playing a role that's going to be more beneficial to the team, like a tank that maybe you're not as good with, it would be more beneficial for you to play a DPS character that you actually do know inside and out and that you're more comfortable with. And I'm kind of starting to agree with that it's not always necessarily, now there's exceptions to everything, but it's not always necessarily a situation where, you say, well, we need a tank, I'm going to play Emma Frost, but I don't actually understand how Emma Frost works. And I'm going to go out here and pretty much just be a meat shield for everybody and just soak up damage when I really could be playing Namor, which is the person that I know really, really well, and actually be more beneficial to the team. So, like I said, nonetheless, we're in this match, and it gets to the second round out of the first one, and we're all kind of like, yo, we don't have a tank, like what's going on, why is this working? And with me, it's like, you can ask the question, why is it working? But at the same time, though, we don't need to fix what's not broken. So if we went out here with no tank, 3 DPS, 3 supports, and that's what's cooking them, and they can't seem to find an answer to whatever we got going on our comp here, why change it, right? And then after this video, you'll see the next one. It probably isn't coming up right this second. There's probably going to be a little bit of time in between it. But once you do get to this next one, this one was a really, really interesting situation. Now, once again, a little bit of context here. With this one, I did go support because nobody else was going support. And I had noticed in the last couple of matches that I had that it seemed like the supports that I were getting were going, cloak and dagger, invis, and stuff like that. But they didn't actually understand the roles. They weren't lorded. Not saying that you need to be lorded, but at the rank that I'm at, I kind of feel like.
But there are certain instances where I feel like you should, like if you're going to play a specific role, like just like you said, like an invis or something in ranked, you possibly should have her lord, because then that I can't speak, but you possibly should have her lord, or like me, like I'm working on Lord Mantis. You should have like a Mantis or Invis or whatever supports you play, or whatever roles you play. Like if you normally a tank main and you play DPS, you should have that character lord if you're gonna play them in rank, because then that lets the other team know and your team know, hey, I'm pretty efficient in these characters and I played this character a lot, so I pretty much understand their kit very well.
You should have a lord on your character, or at least be very close to it to understand it. Long story short.
Exactly. That's basically what I just said, even though I couldn't get it out.
I go and I play Invis. The enemy team has an Iron Man and an Ultron. And the people on my team just did not seem to be understanding how to get this Ultron Iron Man up out of here, right? And I tried to play a couple of different roles, but it was not working. They also had a Moon Knight, but I just couldn't seem to really get any damage on the Iron Man and the Ultron because they were working together. They were probably a close duo that really helped each other out. So even if I would get the Iron Man weak or the Ultron, the other one would just come and clean it up. And then the Moon Knight was just frying my team, and I couldn't really get him up out of there because of this Iron Man and this Ultron, right? So the first round, I believe it was Midtown or whatever the Dracula map is, we get absolutely fried. They push us all the way back to our spawn pretty much, and it just seemed like we weren't able to do anything. I don't even know if they had any eliminations on or we had any eliminations for them on our team or anything at this point. If we did, it was very minimal, right? And when we go to switch, everybody's sitting here arguing that we had a Black Panther on our team. He's telling everybody that he hates them, that we're terrible, we're the worst players that he's ever seen. It's just.
And something that's funny to me, I've always find this funny. The players that always are saying, this team sucks, this is the worst team I ever seen. A person that always says something like that is the one that's either doing bad, or let's say they doing pretty good. They ain't doing that bad. They still suck. They still suck very, very badly, because I noticed that it seemed like every single time there's a person on the team that always wants to whine and cry through in the text chat or even in the voice chat and say, "You guys suck, y'all. Oh, you're the worst player I ever seen. You're the worst. Um, like you're the worst gambit I ever seen, or you're the worst thrower I've ever seen, or whatever." In the long run, they may be doing this good in the game, but when you go to their profile, you see a bunch of losses. You see them constantly go on a loss streak, and you see them never do that good when they're on the team. They just happen to do that good when they're on your team. It's always a character that it's always a player that usually sucks really bad normally. That always wants to whine and crying about you sucking, about you suck.
Whatever, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here trying to kind of, mediate here between everybody and saying, hey guys, let's just figure it out. Let's swap around. And at the very last second, I said, hey, you know what? Let me think from the Iron Man's perspective. This is why I preach flexing and being able to play other characters, simply because once you play other characters, you will start to understand what sucks for you in that position. So I'm a Lord Iron Man. I played Ultron, and I know that when you play any flyer, one of the most irritating things to go up against is Angela. Now, Angela has counters. She has Invis. Invis makes Angela's life miserable. But the thing is I've only ever played Angela like twice in quick play. I had just started to like wanting to learn her, but Moon Knight is like maybe I'd say 4 or 5 games away from being lorded. So the last couple of days I've been primarily focusing on getting him lorded. But I have played Angela like 2 or 3 times, just enough to kind of basically understand how her kit works and her movement and stuff like that, right? And at the last second, I said, hey, you know what? Maybe if I don't even have to kill the Iron Man, but maybe if I can just distract him and get his attention off of the rest of the team and keep him just, in distress the whole entire time, just maybe that'll work out for us. Lo and behold, I switch over to Angela on a whim and I start flying around, just giving the Iron Man as hard of a time as I possibly could. At first, I wasn't able to actually delete him, but then after like the second or third attempt, I actually was able to start deleting him. I was making him fly back further away from the Ultron. The Ultron wasn't fast enough to keep up with us, so I was able to delete Iron Man. Then I was able to get Ultron out of there, and then I started feeling more comfortable. I started going after the supports, but I'm not going to lie, the Invis was giving me a hard time, but then I just basically left her alone and started going after the Cloak and Dagger, which made the Invis have to kind of like focus on me and take her attention off of the team. So then the shoes on the other foot, we start cooking the other team. Now it's a situation where they were stomping us out, and now we're stomping them out. And then I noticed that they swapped off of Iron Man and Ultron. So then playing mind games with them, I said, hey, you know what? They're probably going to switch their comp up now to say, hey, we got to deal with this Angela. She's the one that's giving us a problem. So then I switched over to Moon Knight because that is who I'm more comfortable on. And now that they didn't have the Iron Man and the Ultron anymore, I didn't have to worry about flyers. I could start cooking as Moon Knight. And that's what we did. And we ended up winning this match. And this is something that I wouldn't normally do, right? I would never usually play a character that I'm not that familiar with in a ranked match. Now, maybe like in lower ranks or something, simply because, most people aren't going to be like at a skill level to where they're really thinking about counter picking and all that kind of stuff. But at the rank that I'm at now, it's like, no, you got to play characters that you actually know. You can't just.
Yeah, that is very true. But one thing I can say, one thing that's very annoying that I noticed is always a Moon Knight on the other team, and it's like for some reason when you go Moon Knight, you can never really truly dip. At least for me, at least I can have a hard time dipping the Moon Knight, and it's always a hard time killing the Moon Knight because your teammates are just complete idiots, and I don't know what that is.
Take a character that you've only used twice in quick play, which is completely different of a scenario. But quick play is the wild wild west, right? Whereas in rank, people are going to actually like work together and do the things that they should and stuff. Especially when you can tell that you're working against a team that is working together and countering you and probably giving call outs to each other and stuff. They probably have a duo or a trio on there. You can just kind of tell by the way that they're working together and stuff and peeling for each other. Like I said, I usually wouldn't do that. But every now and again, though, I end up doing something like that and it works. I remember there was a time back when I didn't play Strange at all. And we just needed a shield tank to kind of cover this long distance that we had to walk down. And I wanted to play Thor or Emma, but they just weren't really working in that situation. So on a whim, I picked up Strange and I said, hey, I'm just going to emulate what I've seen other people do. And I see people popping the shield, walking them down. They get close. They use his whip. I don't know why Strange has a whip. It's kind of weird to me. But still, he's got the whip. He does the little, energy explosion thing or explosion thing or whatever, where he does that. And then he shoots people a couple of times, etc. So I just emulated what I saw people doing. And for some reason, it actually worked. And there's always these moments where I'm like, wow, I can't believe that actually worked. But if the enemy team does not have an answer for that, that's what it is. And with us having roll queue, it would take away that freedom. Imagine if in that match that I was just telling you about where I went Angela, right? Imagine if we were in roll queue and I couldn't switch, like I had insta-lock DPS, and the DPS that I had, it just wasn't, there wasn't anything that I could really do. If I would have picked Hela, the Ultron would have just mowed me down while I was focusing on the Iron Man, or the Iron Man would have mowed me down while I was focusing on him, whatever. It's a really good team up to have, especially when they're actually working together and the Ultron isn't just brainless and just putting the drone on tanks that are fully healed when you got this Iron Man, 1v1 and for his life and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, if there wasn't really anything I could do. I tried to switch to Wanda, but I'm just not outputting enough damage before I'm going to get deleted by one of the other flyers, et cetera, right? So imagine you would have loaded into this match and I wouldn't have been able to switch over to Angela. No one else on the team knew how to play Angela, but Angela was really the only answer there. Even when I didn't know how to play her that well, she's just enough of a nuisance to flyers to where she's at least gonna, at the very least, make them play scared and not be able to focus on deleting the rest of my team. And now I've got 2 out of 6 of the people on that team distracted. It's no different than when I started playing Spider-Man. I started realizing a lot of times when I played Spider-Man, people hated him so much the whole entire team would sit outside of, like, right outside of their spawn, trying everything they could to delete me. And even if they got me weak, I could just immediately zip over to a health pack, and before they even had time to reload, I was right back there again, annoying them. I've talked about it before. Like, you imagine you're going out to have a picnic with your girl. It's a beautiful day at the park or whatever. You got this whole spread laid out and stuff, and all of a sudden a fly just comes around, just starts zipping around in your face. The fly is too quick for you to actually smack him out of the air or do anything to him, but he's just annoying the living hell out of you. And eventually you're like, you know what? We're wrapping it all up. We're going inside. We're just go eat at a restaurant or eat at the house or whatever the case is, right? That's kind of how Spider-Man is. Angela's a giant, like, version of that, where her just flying around a lot of times puts so much pressure on the back line. You don't even have to delete them or do anything to them. It's just their attention and their focus is being taken off of what their primary goal is, which is to heal. And if they're being distracted, there's 2 options. Either they have to sit there and use all of their resources and cooldowns to be able to just deter you, not even delete you a lot of times, or the tanks are going to have to do the opposite of what their primary function is, which is to create space to turn around to peel. And by the time they get over there, you can just fly away, go get healed up again, kind of like Venom or any of these other, like, dive tanks and stuff, where that's their primary purpose. And roll queue would take a lot of that stuff away. And the thing is that I think that a lot of people with roll queue, they want it to be this very simple, cut and dry thing where it's like, all right, I don't have to worry about playing tank. I don't have to worry about support. And I also don't have to worry about communicating with my team, which is something that a lot of us, even myself included, is irritating. I didn't want to have to talk to my team in this match. There was actually a point where, because we went into overtime, right? They had pushed us all the way back. They got all 3 of their points. We did the same thing to them. We pushed them all back. And then when it was time for them to attack, they couldn't even, like, secure the point. We were all working together really well, right? And then at the end, like I said, I switched over to Moon Knight. So we have this Black Panther, and I noticed that the Black Panther was getting them really weak, but he wasn't able to finish the kills, right? He was getting them, like, down to like 1 health bar or something, or one part of their health bar. And then, they would start working together, or somebody would peel for him, whatever. So I told him in the chat, which you guys wouldn't be able to see in that recording, because I believe with that one I had to go back and record it through the history. But in the game chat, before we were about to go out, we got 30 seconds. So I said, hey, BP, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to flank around to the right side and get behind him, but don't attack him. Wait until I throw my Ankh. I'm going to ping my Ankh, and as soon as I ping the Ankh, then you can dash through him, and then I'm going to hit the Ankh, and they're not going to be able to respond in enough time because it's lightning fast already. So by the time it's registered.
What?
I said I got to tell you something about that when you get a shave.
In their brains, they're already going to be gone. And once we got the supports out of the way, what is the other team going to do? We have our supports. They don't. It's going to take them longer to get back to the point than it would take us, even if we got deleted. So we've already won. And like I said, lo and behold, look at what happened. We won. And like I said, a lot of this comes down to people being able to think on their toes. That's why I love this game, is that there are so many times that I have to be quick on my feet and learn while I'm playing the game. I have to be able to step outside of my comfort zone and do things I don't want to do. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, I am not going to randomly pick up a character that I do not know how to play that well. At this point, I know what every character in the game does. I know what every single one of their abilities are. 9 times out of 10, I have an idea of what their cooldowns are and stuff. But there is a big difference between you playing a character and you understanding that character. Even in this match, I'm pretty sure the Moon Knight was a Lord Moon Knight. And I've been talking about this a lot over the last couple of weeks, but I have yet to get diffed by a Moon Knight. That's why he's becoming one of my favorite characters, because I really understand like the positioning with him, when to attack, when to back off, how to respond to different characters and stuff.
Okay, y'all. I think we pretty much get the gist of it. I mean, yeah, we pretty much get the gist of it. So, but yeah, for me, I feel like it's kind of like a toss up. It's almost like on one. I mean, like I said in the beginning of the video, it's almost like a toss up. On one hand, we might need road queue, or there might be there's a lot of players that think we should need road queue, but also I feel like maybe we don't need road queue, because I feel like if we have road queue, that'll make the game less fun for a lot of players. And then there's on another part where we feel like we do need road queue, because a lot of players just want to just sit up and just answer a lot of DPS all the time, and nobody really wants to heal like that. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video, y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts and stuff like that, leave it in the comment section below. Leave a like on the video, comment down below, chance to do next. Turn on post notification bell so you never miss when I upload a video, and I'm catch y'all on the next one. Deuces.